2006 Dodge Dakota 4.7 liter. Everybody knows these Dodges have all kind of electrical gremlins, but if you're having a no crank no start condition, a couple things. This truck had the exact same thing. I'll run you through everything that I found on the truck and how I fixed it. So if you're having a no crank no start, pull a scan from the OBD2 port first and see if it tells you anything's wrong. So my truck, nothing popped up. You go to turn the accessory on, the radio comes on, all the lights come on. Went to crank it, nothing. Wouldn't click, wouldn't do anything. Unhooked the battery overnight, didn't help anything. So then I started thinking about the starter. And the starter really only has 3 wires. You got a constant hot, a signal hot, and a ground. The starter is grounded to the engine block through the starter bolts itself. So then you just have 2 wires going to your starter. You have this big, I've got it wrapped up. You can see that wire going down through there. Inside that is 2 wires. You got this big thick, one of these, I think it's that one, goes to the starter, the big thick power cable, and then this connector right here, the little signal wire. Anytime the key is in the crank position, it sends 12 volt positive down to the solenoid. So you can test your starter by putting a test light down there on those 2 wires. One of them should be constant hot all the time. The other one should be hot when you turn the key to the positive crank position. Mine was good there, so I'm like, okay, we got power here, but nothing's happening when I turn the key, so it must be a bad starter. Let's just check it real quick with a flathead. And down there on the 2 terminals, you got your constant hot and your switch terminal. You can put a screwdriver between the 2 lugs and make contact, and it'll jump power over to the solenoid, engage it, and if it's a good starter, it should crank. So I done that, flathead, and it would just barely spark a little bit, but it would not crank. So I was like, okay, got a bad starter, no big deal. I had the starter sent to AutoZone, or I took it to AutoZone, had it tested, and they put it on the bench stand and said nothing was wrong with it. Worked perfectly fine. I'm like, yeah, right, they're full of crap. 187,000 miles, the original Chrysler starter. Said it was good on the bench stand, so I didn't believe them. I brought it back home. I hooked jumper cables up to, I can show you right here. So on starter, this big lug right here goes to the battery. It's got power 24/7. And then this little spade terminal right here is got power only when it's in the crank position. So this is the solenoid, this is the starter. Whenever the solenoid gets power here, it closes the contact between here, and power flows through here, through this bare copper wire into the starter motor. So what I did to test this, how you test it is very simple. I clipped battery cables, one end of the positive here, other end of the positive here. One end of the negative here, other end of the negative anywhere on the frame, because this is the ground. And then we just put a, you can see if it's going to work by putting a signal wire. Just touch a wire here into your positive. Anytime you touch that positive, it should engage the solenoid, engage the starter. So I done that, and it worked perfectly every time. When it was in the truck, it wouldn't work. On the bench stand at AutoZone, it did work. In my hands, bench testing it right here, it did work. So I put it back in. Didn't work anymore. Truck wouldn't crank. So I was like, okay, maybe I got a bad cable. It's not letting enough amps or something through. Replace the cable, replace the signal wire, replace the battery. Nothing ever worked. I took this thing in and out 4 different times. Every time I'm holding it out here in my hand, bench testing it works perfectly. Every time it was in the truck, didn't crank. Turns out it's a bad starter. The only thing I can think of is when it's bolted in there. I also tried thinking, well, maybe my engine's not grounding good enough, so I ran jumper cables from the bolt here to the frame, from the bolt to the battery. Nothing ever worked. For whatever reason, this starter, I mean, it's got 187,000 miles on it, and it is, factory Chrysler. But anyway, if you test a starter and you may think it's bad, even though the bench test at AutoZone or Advanced, they tell you it's good, it could still be bad. I think what it was, every time it was in the truck, bolted down, it was flexing. I know it sounds crazy, but flexing the frame here, and something was not making contact somewhere and it wasn't working. But anyway, so got the new starter on and went to go crank it. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. Same problem. But I could jump the 2 contacts and get it to turn over, so I knew the starter was good. Now the reason it wasn't cranking, I hooked the OBD2 scanner. Now I had a P0633 no skim key detected fault. So what that is your keys. So your key has got a computer chip in here that talks to a little thing in the steering column called the security module. So this goes over that key ring, and it's got a sensor in it. There's little thin copper windings here that goes into this, and if anything gets damaged or something, this thing no longer talks to the chip in your key, which no longer talks to the computer, and now the truck won't crank. So I found a video YouTube online where you can just pop out these little clips here and here, and this thing opens up like a clamshell, and there's 2 pins right here that are just pressure on there by pressure, and you can solder them and try to re-clean them and everything. And if you've got a bad security box, that may fix it, and I'll put a link up right now.
Push in those tabs, 2 on each end there, then that cover comes off. There's your circuit board. Alright, now there's an antenna in this loop here with tiny little wires that run down, and the pins are right here, that one and that one, but they're not soldered in on these, so you can push these little tabs out of the way and pull the board out. Wait, it's hard with one hand. There we go. Okay. And the pins just stay there. And there's the contact holes, right out in there with the metal ring around, larger metal ring around it, and this one over here with the larger metal ring around it. And sometimes that gets corroded and gets oxidation on it, and the pins get some oxidation on them, and they lose contact, and you'll get the skim fault where it won't read your key because it can't see it. And I've only seen this a couple times, but it does happen. And every time I've seen it, I just clean up the pads there, both sides, and then use this tiny file for like a 3D printer nozzle, and just kind of run it through these holes here, just to clean them up a little bit. And then I clean up these pins here, and then I stick it all back together and put it back in the car, and good as new.
So that's how you do that. I did that, and no, it still didn't help anything. So I found another way to fix it through All Computer Resources out of Florida, where they actually go into the computer and delete it to where it no longer searches for this. Now when you do that, it no longer, the chip and the key no longer works, which is fine. You know, you'll just have to the power door lock still works, but whenever you want to unlock it, you can't use the key fob, which I was fine with. So I sent the computer off to them in Florida, and they did delete it, and it worked perfectly. So I get it back. Right here's the computer, by the way, on 2006. So you got 1 screw here, 2 down there, and then 4 big plugs. I sent this off, and they deleted it and got rid of that P0633 fault. And when you do that, you have to unplug this module, and it no longer looks for this. You never have to worry about this going dead again. If you want to keep this, your only option is to try and fix it yourself, or get on eBay and you have to buy a new one. But it's VIN specific. You can't just go and buy one of these and swap it out. You got to let the people know. They got to program this box to your VIN number. It's a big ordeal. They don't make new ones anymore. You can only get a used one. I did not want this anymore. I did not want to get stranded by this stupid thing going out again. So I had it deleted in the computer, hooked everything back up, truck cranked. No problem. Truck cranked right up. Awesome. No problems. I used the truck for like 2 days, and then one day I hit the door lock, shut the door. You know, went inside, no problems. The next day I come out here, and like I said, the key fob no longer works to unlock it. So I stuck my key in here, I twisted it to the left, unlocked it. As soon as I opened the door, as soon as the door come off, the horn starts blaring, the lights, the parking lights, headlights, everything on the truck going crazy. I set the alarm off. So I go to hit this. I forgot, well, this thing don't work anymore because that thing is unplugged. So I had to pull the battery cable off. And I'm like, what in the world? Why is the horn and everything going off? So I pulled the fuse off right here and unplugged the horn fuse. And then I hooked the battery back on with the door shut, and the alarm was off. As soon as I opened that door, the alarm started going on again. So every time it sensed that that door was open, the alarm was going off. And I could not turn it off. I even tried rolling the window down, shutting the door, putting the battery back on. There's no alarm, and hitting unlock on the door here. That didn't turn the alarm off. I tried cranking the truck. That didn't work. So as soon as you either crank it or open the door, the alarm was going off. I spent 2 weeks on the internet trying everything under the sun, trying to get the alarm to turn off. I could not get the alarm to turn off. The only way you can turn the alarm off is either hit unlock on the key fob or crank the truck. And when you crank it, the computer, this thing right here, searches for the key, and that's the only 2 ways you can deactivate it. So what happened was, I got the computer back in, deleted, everything was gravy for 2 days because the truck was unlocked. And then that one day, I hit the lock here and shut the door. And in the owner's manual, it says there's 2 ways to lock the truck. Either hit lock here on the key fob, or hit lock on the driver door and shut it within like 16 seconds. And that's what I had done. I had locked it, shut it, and then armed it. And now that that thing was unplugged, I could never unarm it. Big ordeal, super aggravating. But what I figured out was, to get the truck to disarm, I had to plug this thing back in. I had to plug this thing back in, and then it started searching for the key fob, and I was able to hit unlock on the key fob, and it turned the alarm off. And in the alarm, it's got that little red slow flashing light right there. The alarm went away. So then, to prevent the alarm from ever turning back on again, I took the door panel off, and right here on the driver door, that's the plug right here going to the power door lock latch right here. So that controls the interior lights. It lets the truck know when it's locked and unlocked on that right there on the lock button. So with that unplugged, it never knows that it's locked with this deleted. And that's how you prevent the alarm from ever turning on again. So now I'm right back to a P0633 won't crank condition, because evidently this thing's bad to crank it. So I had to send the computer back off to Florida for them to delete it for the second time. But now that I have this unplugged, there's no way to ever activate the alarm again. So just a heads up, I think on the second generation Dakotas, the lock unlock thing that the computer senses is in the passenger side. But on these third generation Dakotas, the only key spot for a physical key is right here. So if you're having a no crank, no start, check your battery first, check your starter, all the simpler things first. But if you're having a no skim key detected, or key not programmed to vehicle or something like that, it's probably this piece of junk here. And you can send your computer off to all computer resources in Florida, and they'll delete it, or your computer won't look for that thing anymore. But if you do that, you need to unhook the door lock that the computer searches for. That way you can't accidentally set the alarm like I did. So right now, with that unhooked, the driver door lock mechanism, power lock mechanism is unhooked. This is unhooked. Now I have no problems. The computer does not even look for that thing anymore. And if I ever want to lock the truck, I can still hit lock and unlock on this. And it works for those 3 doors, but this door won't work anymore. And there's no way to accidentally set the alarm. So if I want to walk into a store, I just hit lock on this. Now I can shut it, turn it to the right, and lock it that way. Unlock it. So the truck still works fine, and I never have to worry about this box going bad again. So I hope that helps someone with this problem, because I've spent 6 weeks researching all this, I was about ready to roll this truck off a cliff. It's so aggravating. I really like the truck when it's running, but everybody knows these Dodges have electrical problems. But anyway, hope that helps someone.